The atmosphere inside the DHO studio was initially lighthearted, filled with the typical buzz that surrounded celebrity appearances. Ryan Reynolds had arrived to promote his latest film, effortlessly charming the co-hosts and audience alike with his trademark wit and relaxed energy. Dressed in a fitted gray blazer over a simple black t-shirt, he looked every bit the Hollywood star. But there was something in his eyes that hinted he was bracing for more than just movie questions. Asterisk, the segment began smoothly. Joy Behar made a joke about Ryan's uncanny ability to juggle fatherhood, acting, and running businesses. Sarah N. brought up his hilarious back and forth with Hugh Jackman, to which Ryan laughed and played along. Everything was sailing smoothly until Whoopi Goldberg leaned in with that deliberate calm of someone who knew exactly what they were about to say. Asterisk, so Ryan, she said, her voice low and even, you've built a brand on being the funny guy, the charming guy, but some folks are wondering why stay silent when it comes to the hard stuff. The political, the social, don't you think it's time to speak up a little more boldly? Asterisk, the studio fell silent. It wasn't the kind of question Ryan had been prepped for, and the shift in tone was jarring. He straightened a bit, offering a practiced smile. I think humor can be powerful. It opens doors, eases tension. I do support causes, I just don't always shout about it from the rooftops. Not everything has to be public to be meaningful. Asterisk Whoopi nodded slightly, but she didn't let go. But sometimes, being public is the point. You've got a platform most people could only dream of. Doesn't silence send a message to asterisk? Ryan's eyes narrowed barely, but enough for the cameras to catch it. I understand where you're coming from, he replied, measured. But I also think we have to be careful not to equate being vocal online with actually making a difference. I work with organizations, I donate, I get involved, but I don't always turn it into a spectacle. Asterisk Whoopi's voice remained composed, but firm. It's not about spectacle. It's about solidarity. You can't be in the spotlight and then duck out when it's inconvenient. The world's watching. Asterisk the tension was now undeniable. The air had shifted. The audience, usually lively, was stone quiet, sensing the rising heat beneath the surface. Alyssa, Farah, Griffin, and Sonny Hostin exchanged nervous glances. Joy tried to chime in with a joke to break the tension, but it was too late. Asterisk Ryan leaned forward, his voice edged with frustration. I didn't come here to be cornered. I came to talk about my film, to have a decent conversation, not be over how I choose to use my voice. Asterisk Whoopi didn't flinch. Then maybe ask yourself why being asked a question about responsibility feels like an attack. The words hit like a thunderclap. Ryan stared at her for a beat, then slowly stood. With all due respect, I think this interview's over, he said, his tone cool, controlled, but undeniably tense. Asterisk, the studio gasped. A producer off camera could be heard muttering, a panicked go-to commercial. Ryan set down his microphone, on the armrest of his chair, adjusted his blazer, and with a brief nod to the rest of the panel, turned and strode off the set. Asterisk camera operators froze, unsure whether to follow him or stay on the stunned faces at the table. Whoopi sat still, unfazed, hands clasped calmly in front of her. Asterisk, that's unfortunate, she said after a beat, but sometimes growth comes from being uncomfortable. Asterisk Alyssa cleared her throat awkwardly. Well, that escalated quickly. Asterisk the camera cut to a shaken Joy, who quickly forced a smile. We'll be right back after this. Asterisk as the screen faded to black and the commercials rolled, chaos erupted backstage. Producers scrambled, assistants whispered into headsets, and phones lit up across the country. Within minutes, hashtags like hashtag Ryan walks off, hashtag Whoopi vs Reynolds, and hashtag The View explodes were trending. Asterisk, but the moment wasn't just a clash of personalities. It had cracked open a deeper, rawer conversation, a moment where two public figures collided over the very idea of what it means to be accountable in the public eye. And the world was watching, with no intention of looking away. The echo of Ryan Reynolds walking off the set of The View didn't just fade into the background. It exploded across the internet like wildfire. Within minutes of the live broadcast, social media platforms were in uproar. Viewers clipped the now infamous moment and posted it across TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, dissecting it frame by frame. Asterisk, some fans were quick to defend Ryan, praising him for standing his ground. He's not a politician, he's an entertainer, one tweet read, garnering over 100,000 likes. He's allowed to have boundaries. Others, however, sided with Whoopi, applauding her for holding a high-profile celebrity accountable. This wasn't an attack. Someone else posted, "This was a challenge and he ran." Asterisk that evening, debates raged on cable news and late-night commentary shows. Conservative pundits accused Whoopi of turning The View into a battleground. Progressive voices insisted it was time celebrities stopped hiding behind PR filters and started engaging meaningfully in real-world issues. The clash was no longer just about a disagreement, had become a symbol. Asterisk meanwhile, Ryan remained silent. No interviews, no tweets, not even a cryptic meme. His PR team went into damage control behind the scenes, fielding calls from brands, movie studios, and partners. Some executives feared the moment might dent his universally likable image. Others saw the controversy as a surprising new edge to his persona. Asterisk late that night. However, Ryan broke the silence not with a press statement, but with a quiet Instagram story, a black screen, white text. Asterisk, there's a fine line between accountability and ambush. Asterisk, nothing more. No hashtags, no tags, no comments. Just a single, sharp sentence. Asterisk, the post triggered another wave of reactions. Some fans celebrated it as poetic. Others called it deflection. Meanwhile, tabloid headlines screamed everything from Ryan's meltdown to Whoopi destroys Reynolds live on air. Asterisk, Whoopi Goldberg, true to form, wasn't shaken. The next morning, she addressed the controversy on The View with the same calm that had unnerved Ryan in the first place. Asterisk, we invite guests here to have honest conversations, she said, hands folded on the desk. We don't script moments like that. We didn't set anyone up. But if you come here, you know what this show is. You know who we are, and sometimes the truth gets uncomfortable. Asterisk, the audience applauded softly. Sarah N. nodded. Joy Behar kept a polite poker face. The panel didn't dwell long on the fallout. But the message was loud and clear. We don't apologize for tough questions. Asterisk, the days that followed saw a shift in narrative. Talk shows began booking analysts to discuss the role of celebrity activism. One CNN panelist said, "This wasn't just a walk-off. It was a flashpoint in how we view fame in a politically charged age. People don't want neutrality anymore. They want conviction." Asterisk, a few outspoken actors and musicians weighed in online. Some defended Ryan, saying everyone has a right to decide how and when to speak. Others suggested that silence in times of global injustice was its own kind of privilege. Asterisk, then came Ryan's appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Nearly a week later, Fallon, always careful to avoid direct conflict, broached the subject with humor. Asterisk, rough week, huh? Asterisk, Ryan chuckled, but it was a weary laugh. Yeah, not exactly the press tour I had planned. Asterisk, Jimmy smiled. Want to clear the air? Asterisk, Ryan paused thoughtfully. Look, I've always believed in letting the work speak for itself. But I also get that silence can be misread. What happened on The View, it wasn't planned. It wasn't scripted. I felt like I was being told who I should be instead of being asked who I am. The audience was silent, listening. I respect Whoopi. I really do. Ryan continued. She's a legend, and I don't think either of us intended for things to blow up like that. But I also believe disagreement doesn't equal disrespect. Sometimes, stepping away is the only way to keep things from boiling over. Asterisk, Jimmy nodded. Would you ever go back on The View? Asterisk, Ryan smiled. If Whoopi promises not to crush me again, maybe. Laughter erupted from the crowd, breaking the tension. But the moment marked something deeper. The incident, while dramatic, had peeled back the layer of public image and revealed something raw: what happens when celebrities are forced to confront expectations they didn't sign up for. Asterisk, the clash wasn't about politics or a particular cause. It was about a bigger cultural question. Do we demand too much of the famous, or are we finally holding them to a necessary standard? Asterisk, for Ryan and Whoopi, the debate may have ended when he walked off set. Asterisk, but for the world watching. Asterisk, it had only just begun.